Toronto real estate market is full of opportunities, but it's also full of traps.
Max, I'm desperate. I need money.
So the wrong choice could potentially cost you thousands of dollars, but even worse, you could be living in a home in an area that you ultimately hate living in. So today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reveal these areas to you that you should never buy in. Of course, this video is going to be in my opinion. Your opinion may differ. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or an experienced investor, choosing the right neighborhood can be a critical choice. So, not all neighborhoods in Toronto are created equal. Some of them come with hidden costs that could derail your real estate plans for years to come. In this video, we're going to cover 4 topics. We're going to cover declining property values, overpriced properties that do not deliver, major development risks, and some of the areas that are higher crime and don't have great school zones. So stick around. I'm going to help and share some of these tips with you, let you spot some of these red flags before you're actually buying your next property. If you want some tailored advice, you can always book a call with me at the number here on the screen or check the pinned comment for all of my contact information. So first on the list here is going to be areas that have declining value. And I'm going to start it off with Scarborough, especially the Birchmount Road and Eglinton East area. While Scarborough, of course, it's seen some growth. Everywhere has seen some growth. These areas are a little bit behind, and that's due to the outdated infrastructure in the areas and limited development. So according to the Toronto Real Estate Board, the average appreciation rate in these zones is only 1.5%. You can get better return on your money elsewhere, far below Toronto's citywide average of 5 to 6%, which is much better return. Meanwhile, there's newer hotspots like Pickering and Markham that are pulling these buyers from Scarborough to these neighborhoods that are maybe going to be more long-term options for them and their families here. So I did work with a buyer and they secured a deal in Scarborough area, and a couple years have passed and it's time to move their property, and they thought that maybe they might have made a little bit of money, but unfortunately what's happened in the real estate market is it's been fairly stale and stagnant over time, and a lot of the areas surrounding their property outside of Scarborough have still appreciated a little bit, but their property sat on the market for quite some time before we were actually able to sell the property because there's just not as much attraction to the Scarborough area. And that's because people are really worried about infrastructure and they're worried about crime in some of these areas. So we have to think about, when we're purchasing a property, all of these things on the resale side as well. You might be getting a great deal. You might be okay with the neighborhood. You just have to remember, on the flip side, if you had hesitation buying a property, you might have some hesitation on the buyers coming in to secure your property down the road. Now, overpriced hotspots that do not necessarily deliver is another thing you should really keep in mind. And we've talked about this in my last video, but Liberty Village is super trendy and it appeals to a lot of young professionals. I love Liberty Village personally, but here's the problem. Condos are averaging like $1,200 a square foot. That's higher than like King West, Queen West area that's pretty close by, and those areas offer better amenities, higher resale potential, and they're a little bit better when it comes to the transit side of things. Liberty Village, you're kind of stuck in a pocket there. So if you're thinking about an area like Liberty Village, something to keep in mind. As of 2024, there was a report done by Urban Nation that showed that Liberty Village had one of the slowest resale growth rates in Toronto, just over 2% compared to 6% in King West. So if you're thinking of that pocket, maybe push for King West over Liberty Village. King West will cost you more money, potentially, depending on the area and the building that you're looking into, but it might make sense for you, especially if you're not going to be there for a long period of time. Resale is something you need to consider without a doubt. Residents often complain about Liberty Village having limited parking, overcrowded amenities, and a lack of green space. If you're buying there, just understand your long-term value might be hindered slightly by some of these things that people are bringing up, because the buyers are the ones who are ultimately going to pay you. If you think it's a great area, think about you as the buyer. That's who is probably going to be okay with the property. If you're not a family and hoping that maybe a family wants to come in and buy up your property, they might have some hesitation depending on what that area looks like, what the building amenities are, and if it's going to work for them ultimately in the location the Liberty Village is actually situated in. Now, I want to talk areas that have development risks. Let's talk about Downsview area. There's just a massive redevelopment happening in the Downsview area. If you haven't been down that way, you should go check it out. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. New condos are being put up, new townhouses, new detached properties. There's plans for parking. Obviously, housing is happening, transit upgrades, but projects like this come with massive risks. You're going to see delays happening all the time. According to the City of Toronto Development Tracker, there are several projects that have seen delays of 2 or more years. Pre-construction buyers who invested in 2020 are now looking at 2026 or even later to get into some of these properties. I don't know about you, but me personally, if I'm told I have to wait 6 years for a property that I just purchased, I'm probably not purchasing that property if I knew that right out the gate. So keep in mind, you might be given a 3 or 4 year time frame, but that extended time can happen really quick, and 6 years is a long time to wait for a property that you've already put money into. Now, I didn't have a client specifically in Downsview that purchased pre-construction with delays, but I have had clients who have bought pre-construction and then been forced to see delay after delay. We did have a family member buy something in Mississauga, and there was delays of over 2 years on their project. And what are you going to do? You really have no control over the builder's timelines and how things are working on the building side of things or on the financing side of things. So the best you can do is do your due diligence, look into the builder, check out their track record. If they're a new builder, I go into it with more hesitation because you don't know if they've done this in the past or had multiple delays that are going to cost you just money, having to find another place to live potentially, but also some stress, just not knowing if the project's going to get finished at all. Next thing we want to discuss is high crime rates. If you have kids like me, it's something that you are really going to consider more than a lot of these other things. You might be okay with delays, but having a home in an area that's going to be high risk for crime, I don't know. It's not something I'm interested in regardless of the price. So for families, of course, this is a big issue. And the other thing is the schools that are in the area where you purchase. You want to have good schools, quality schools. You don't want schools that have a bad reputation and have crime built in. Now, there's some areas that I would definitely avoid personally. Of course, this is in my opinion, but I would avoid parts of Rexdale for sure, and then parts of North York. You're going to struggle with higher than average crime rates and schools that are underperforming. This is all going to come down to you doing your research and getting some assistance from your real estate professional. According to Toronto Police Public Safety Data Portal that we've come up here is that crime incidents in Rexdale are 35% higher than the average city. That's a big increase. Now, meanwhile, Fraser Institute shows that many schools in these specific zones rank in the bottom 25%. So now we're combining high crime risk, low school average in terms of where they rank. It might be a no for me if you have kids. That's just really what it comes down to. You might get a great deal, might not make sense. So these factors could impact the quality of your life, but they're going to affect your resale. And buyers with families are often going to avoid these areas more than they would avoid an area that has great schools and lower crime rate. That's just what is going to be the case. Now, no matter where you're looking, there are 3 universal red flags that I have here that I want to share with you. Home has been sitting on the market for 90 plus days. We want to really caution ourselves. Why is this property on the market still? It might look good inside. It might look good on the outside. Why hasn't the property sold? Could it be location? Could it be the school zones? Could it be the crime rate? Figure out why it's still on the market and if it's even an option regardless of the price you can secure the property for. Now, the second red flag for me is near an industrial zone or really, really close to a highway. These areas are just no-goes when it comes to families in general. I don't know if you have a family and you would really want to be within, an earshot or a couple blocks of a big industrial zone. There's backflow. There's chemicals surrounding you. There might be smoke in the air depending on what kind of industrial area it is. For me, I don't care what the price is. I'm not interested. And I definitely don't want to be outside flipping a burger on the barbecue and hearing the highway either in front or behind my house. Avoid the highway at all costs. Your resale value is going to absolutely suck. The industrial is just a given. You're going to have a lower price there no matter what. And that's going to be lower the price, the higher the chance you have to get the property sold. That's just the way industrial area will be. And the third thing is buying something in an area that it just wasn't planned on the infrastructure side. You have tons of development that happened, but they didn't plan everything else. And we've seen this time and time again, especially if you go out to areas like a Shelburne or an Orangeville. You have less infrastructure, but then you're having an influx of tons of properties that are being built. You just need to keep that in mind. It might not make sense for you because you want to have a grocery store closer to you than 15 minutes. It's up to you. Think about what your amenities are that you actually need, what the infrastructure you need is. You might want to stay closer to the city, or you might be perfectly fine being away from the city and having a little bit less infrastructure, which might have been due to a lack of planning, not realizing that a lot of people were going to go and make that big jump and move out to that area. Now, buying the right home is extremely difficult, but you want to do the best you can with the information you're given. I hope this video was helpful for you. Now, if you know what areas to avoid and you're looking to buy your next home, check out this video here, because I'm going to tell you guys the types of homes that I would avoid when buying my next property. Thank you so much for watching this video. You can check out the pinned comment down below for all my contact information or some of my free resources, or you can text me at the number here on screen and we can chat about what's next for you in the real estate market. Have a great day. Bye for now.